Okay, hello. Happy Friday, right? Is it a happy Friday?
Is it
I,
Friday? Is that the day that it is now?
Nobody knows anymore what day it is, right? At this point, and I don't know if this is a happy hour being joined today by Gib from God Save the Point, and I guess for you it's more of a nightcap than a happy hour because it's 10:30 for you.
Yeah, and even then I'm just faking it. It's coconut water, but it looks great. And use my nice glasses and everything. So I put on my best effort for you anyway. But
It looks alcoholic, so well
it
done.
looks the part, and that's all that matters.
Tiffany, what are you having?
I don't have a drink right now, actually, at all. Like, I have no water, I have no coffee.
Why don't you go get a drink then? And because it's a Friday happy hour, and I'm the only one with a like sad hard
Well, we
seltzer.
can do that, but it's a little. I mean, I guess let me see if I can take you all with me to go and make a drink. We could do that.
Are you on a laptop?
Well, yeah, but I had my monitor open.
Okay, we'll see how it works. Let's
Let's see
see. I
what
mean, if you, I don't
happens.
know if you're, I don't have a sense of if you're carrying the whole.
I am going to
This is like
carry the whole thing, but it might.
this is like MTV Cribs OMAD edition.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm not still on, am I?
No, you're still on. What is everyone drinking? So I'm drinking just the same White Claw. By the way, this is a significant upgrade. So I went to the liquor store yesterday because we were running low because you can go through like 1.5 liters of vodka surprisingly quickly when you don't have anything else to do. Sorry, that sounds really bad. Not like it hasn't been that quick, but if you have a couple drinks a day for a week plus. But anyway, the mango flavor of White Claw is significantly better than the raspberry or the black cherry or the whatever the hell it is, grapefruit. So
It's a
highly
little bit
recommend.
like MTV Cribs, but I think everyone's seen my house because I wrote about the remodel in the blog. But you can see my really cool lamp. You'd like that, Gib, my chandelier.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I got
I
it
do
at a
like that.
prop shop. Ben actually took me, like this sketchy prop shop in Hollywood. So rather than spending like $1 million, it was like 700, which is still a lot. Just better than a light fixture, don't get me wrong. What are we drinking?
I feel like every day feels like an occasion. Like, well, might as well.
And if
Yeah.
a little occasion. Are you doing red, white, everything?
I'm pretty focused on red, but when the sun's shining, I like nice crisp white. And then if there's ever something to celebrate again, have a few things squared away.
I mean, we'll see. At this point, it seems like there may never be anything to celebrate again. So I think
Perhaps, but that's why we're here. End of the
by
world
it almost seems
webinar.
worse and worse. But what are other people having? Someone's having a Fanta. That reminds me of the good old days of thinking of being in a Lufthansa lounge and having one of those delicious pretzels and Fanta. But or in the first class terminal when I was like 15, that was my go-to. But yeah, that's.
I think that's always like one of the great memories, that first of everything, whether it's that terminal or this experience, because that it never leaves you. Like, and
That is true.
I find myself going back to those a lot these days.
Yeah, prior to this, okay, what are you having, Tiffany? Are you doing a?
Well, I got distracted because I was like, oh, I should come and check in on this. I don't know. I will make a martini if that's not too distracting. Um,
It'll be distracting, but it's good distracting. I mean, what else do we have?
well, I'll like mute it while I'm doing the shaker because that's annoying. But in the meantime, you guys should talk about a thing. Do you need like a prompt? Are you happy talking?
Okay.
People are saying hi.
So, I mean, so first of all, for background, you are American, but you're married to a Brit and you live in the UK. So how do you identify in that regard as a?
I find I'm very disappointing to people because I'm sure as people do with you, they meet me and they're like, "You're American." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, just total put on." But yeah, my wife's British. We met because of transatlantic travel and kept us together, and that's pretty much the impetus of God Save the Points. And so yeah, I'm just a fake Brit living in the UK with a disappointing American accent, but I now have a
You're starting
daughter.
to develop a little bit of a British accent, though. Like it's.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
You
hard.
do on certain words,
I
but
used
it's
to judge
also
Madonna. I used to judge Madonna for it, but now I find myself occasionally slipping.
It's happening as a spot of tea or what. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not for me, but that's.
we make do. We make do.
So okay, so
so
here's
a couple people are asking you guys about what you're doing to stay fit in your workout routines. So you both, I mean, Gib, you're a tennis player, right?
Yep.
And you're not maybe as great of a tennis player as your wife, but you play some tennis.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing to stay fit? Like, do you have resistance bands? Are you out running? How are you coping with the gyms closed?
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, please.
Or I'll go. So yeah, like I read the guidelines from the LTAs, like the British Tennis Association, and you can still play tennis, but you're supposed to like not change ends or talk to the person, and you're supposed to write your initials on the balls so that you make sure you don't touch the other person's
balls. You don't want to touch someone else's balls.
Yes, you do.
Right. That's
But, like,
a separate game entirely.
I have played tennis a few times, but mostly, yeah, it's just like anything with like TRX bands in the house. I'm lucky I live really near a park, so we go for like we have a stroller now. So like I push the stroller and Laura runs, then she pushes the stroller and I run. So we've got this kind of haphazard setup, but it's working, and we're keeping our social distancing from everyone else. But you got to maintain yourself. I think most Brits are under the assumption you're allowed kind of like one outing per day to a park or to do whatever it is you do. And so we try to make use of ours on the rare occasion that the sun shines here. So, which it has been. So
good for you. That's first of all, Ford is literally pacing around the kitchen because he's trying to get his 10,000 steps in and he doesn't want to leave the house today. So he's literally walking in circles for his 10,000 steps. So to answer that question, this has been a complete disaster for me because like usually I would go every day in elliptical or treadmill or whatever, but I don't know, it sucks. It's like it really does suck. Like you sit at the computer all day and there's so much going on, you don't actually get up at all. So this is a lost few weeks or months or years or whatever the hell, however long this is going to be. We on the weekends we at like 5 a.m. go out for a really long walk when nobody else is out across the bridge and stuff, and that's fun. It's I can confirm. I think that was that a lime or something? No. I think it's only us, and apparently I think escorts are considered essential or something because the other people on the bridge are like in high heels staying there. Not sure what is going on there, but it's very strange. Doesn't really open up. Ford is doing all kinds of now. He learned, not learned. These online fitness class things where on YouTube people have things, so that's great. But that seems like too much effort in my opinion. So
yeah, a trainer we use often asked if we wanted to do like virtual sessions, and I find it hard enough to be motivated while they're in the room. So I think this might be just a bit of a stretch to go.
That's not going to work. My husband has been using our Weimaraner as a kettlebell, so that's an option that you could look into.
So, what do you make of the airline bailout situation here in the U.S.?
Now I have a drink, so we can actually.
I think I guess it had to happen. I'm upset that we didn't get anything, at least from my understanding, that concretely changes the way we as consumers interact with the airline.
Anything, Tiffany?
We're asking about airline bailouts?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was changing monitors and who knows what's going on here. Hang on, I was gone actually. Like you guys couldn't tell that I was gone, but our YouTube audience could tell that I was gone, but now I'm back. I mean, a lot of it is policy, differences in policy. Like I understand the concept of we need to keep people employed, and if giving money to your employer helps keep people employed, especially in the US when we've tied healthcare to employment, like if that's what has to be done. But I would have preferred to see something that was a little bit more specific to the point of this is to keep people employed, especially, rather than here's some money, here's a blank check, here's some loans that are going to be at a really great interest rate. I guess we'll see how it looks like in practice. We've heard a lot of people saying that maybe this is just the first phase of a stimulus bailout package, which is somewhat frightening. But I guess we'll see. It seems like small government is off the table for now. So if you're interested in that, it's not happening. So
it's been pretty wild in the UK too. Or like
Virgin Atlantic is asking for one, but British Airways is like they want Virgin Atlantic to just disappear, I assume, as they always do, or
yeah, it's pretty much the scoop. And then the funny thing is, well, not funny at all. EasyJet, while telling their employees basically to bring their own meals to work, paid out a massive dividend to Stelios, the billionaire owner of EasyJet, like 60 million pounds the same week that they were asking for money and telling employees to take less. So that was really clever, perfect time to do that. So yeah, that's where we are.
Do you want to share your opinions on this, Ben? I was going
to say, with this U.S. situation, what's so strange to me is we had Doug Parker say that, he appreciates that this happened, and the reason this is good is because the U.S. recognizes the importance of the airline industry, and this way, once things recover, we can right away get back to flying as much as we need to serve the American public, which is fantastic. That sounds great, but then you have United saying that, but by the way,
right, United with the honest answer of like, that's actually not anywhere near enough.
That this isn't enough, basically. We'll take your money, but we're not going to furlough people through September 30th because that's what we agreed to. But come October 1st, we are. So at this point, like, does anybody really think things are going to be back to normal in the next few months? And if so, if the goal is to be able to get airlines back in the air soon, isn't it misdirected in a way? Like, of course, I want people to stay employed. I hate to see people lose jobs. Restaurant workers are also really screwed right now, and I mean most people are, so I just feel like there's never a perfect solution, but
yeah, so that's actually a really interesting question. Like, I attend a lot of conferences. I speak at a lot of conferences and events and things like that, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that I've had 5 months worth of conferences now be canceled and have somehow all been rescheduled for September.
Yeah.
So other than the impossibility of that and the fact that we all need a bunch of time turners to make that happen, like, what do you guys think in terms of a travel rebound working out later this year?
I keep hearing that there's going to be this kind of false bump where perhaps if things have reached their peaks and are on their way down, and people are able to travel, like borders are open again, that because of these conferences and just like the cabin fever principle of everyone being cooped up for so long, that there will be like a temporary bump in travel where people are like, I just need to go somewhere or do something, whether it's seeing their family.
Anywhere.
Yeah, just take me anywhere. Whatever.
I'm so excited to be able to go to the grocery store on Sunday because I've been like 14 days of self-isolating and I'm really excited.
Yeah, like whatever 5 routes airlines are still flying at that point, we'll take it, like, but I think after that, that's when the real truth serum will start to set in, and that will be a much darker time, I think, at least from my understanding. Ben?
I mean, there's a lot of talk. Is there going to be a second wave? If the first wave ever ends, is there going to be a second wave? It seems so uncertain at this point. And are we actually going to start taking social distancing more seriously as a general policy in life, realizing that like there's merit to washing hands and not being on top of people?
I think both are on a similar track, but like Laura said to me, she's like, you've been practicing social distancing your entire life. This is like the greatest thing ever. You work from home, or if you're not, you're like hiding out somewhere. I was like,
true.
Fair.
It's going to be a little different, like especially like in China, there was no province outside of Hubei, I don't know how you say it, that ever had more than 1,500 cases. And like in the US, we already have 11 states that have hit that total. And that's like places where we're testing. Yeah, who knows what's happening in Florida.
I think if I had one gripe, it would just be that I wish there was more coordination between governments or even airlines and governments. Like I think, we all watched the roller coaster with like Emirates and their own, the government of the United Arab Emirates, where they were like, we're canceling all the flights, then we're not canceling all the flights, then, oh yeah, we're going to do all the flights again. It's like, you're on the board of both. Like,
right, it's actually the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, your Highness, what are you doing? Did you see, Gib, all the Brits who are stuck in Morocco in like caravans?
No.
Okay, I'll send this to you because this is an amazing story. There were a bunch of British holidaymakers doing, like British holidaymakers do. So they were at some beach resort somewhere, I'm sure, at an all-inclusive. And, Morocco said that... Is it wrong?
No.
Okay.
Just putting it out there.
So then Morocco said, like, we're canceling flights, we're closing the borders, but we'll still let you open up the enclave there's that Spanish enclave in the north of Morocco. Well, so you'll be able to cross there and go into Spain, and then you're in the EU, and then it's someone else's problem. So I don't know if they were already in caravans or Winnebagos. What do you call them in the UK?
I think they call them caravans there, yeah.
Okay, whatever those caravans in the US are like a quantity of vehicles, not a specific kind of vehicle. And apparently they drove like 16 hours, and it's not just one family, it's like a couple hundred people. And now Morocco has been like, oh, never mind, we're not opening up the border, but we are going to build some toilets and showers and some food stalls here. And you're just actually stuck here in your caravan that you rented.
Burning Man meets Fire Festival or something like
Yeah,
that.
for the duration. It's amazing. And the British embassy is like, we don't know. We have no advice. So there's that. Kevin asked what kind of martini I was making after all that production. It's a gin martini with like a little bit of apricot liqueur in it.
That looks nice. That's a great combo.
Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, it's really nice. Some little dried apricot. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Hey, Ben, were you able to use your Korean Air miles before they expire or before whatever is happening? And should I be doing the same? Because I have like a lot.
Well, they only expire in like 8 or 9 years because thanks to Korea has some great laws when it comes to like
something changing like Tuesday. Wasn't there some April something?
Oh crap, they do have, oh my god, they have an award chart evaluation. I can't even, so I was supposed to go a week and a half or 2 weeks ago or whatever time isn't a thing anymore. At some point I was supposed to go to Osaka and I had a Korean Air first class award. I can't even get that refunded yet. I've canceled the flight, but they're like, you have to call SkyPass to get the miles back. And if you call SkyPass, you will either be hung up on right away or just be on hold forever. So I can't even get my miles back, let alone redeem them. But wait, is it like April 1st or something? Because if so, I should just.
So. Can you look at that? Can you like book something for me too, or can we go somewhere?
I don't know where, when. The whole thing is just miles or. It's gotten so bad. I don't even update my Ward Wallet account anymore. Usually I like 4 times a day update it. Just oh, miles. Look at all these cool things. And then at this point, what's the point? We're never going anywhere again.
That's depressing.
And I'm fine with it at this point. I've come to accept my fate, like inside this household. Dogs are so happy, even though they're like mostly inside a house, and for them a big trip is going half a mile down the street. I'm kind of the same at this point. So,
yeah, that's because you mostly like the airplanes. But Gib, you love destinations, and you do all of your like 48-hour guides of like, here's what you should see and eat and whatever when you are somewhere. What is the destination that you're missing the most right now?
It's so hard. Like obviously, different things for different things. But the simplest thing was I love LA. It's a very basic place to go, but when you live in the UK and don't see the sun that often, it's really nice. I love renting Airbnb like Laurel Canyon, and then renting an Airbnb somewhere along kind of Venice, Santa Monica, like Ocean Park. And I miss it there just for like simple reasons. Japan is the one I keep thinking I would do anything to just be able to get on a plane there right now. But I think they've imposed visa restrictions, and obviously you should stay home right now.
Yeah, they're never letting you back in.
And I will, probably never be allowed there ever again. But I just miss those simple things. And then Australia, Melbourne for me is probably my favorite city other than home. In London, that I could go back to like 100 times a year and be happy and drink all the coffee and all the coffee and all the coffee. And so it's just little simple joys. Like I think the fun thing to me, I think I wrote about this even recently, was that I feel like once you kind of feel like you've been everywhere, it's actually really nice to go back to places that there are things that give you lots of joy there that you don't have to discover. Where I think, travel can be exhausting when you're like discovering and, doing this and seeing that and, take this picture, take that picture, and it's like, it's really fun when it's like, okay, I know this place, I know what I want, I'm just going to do it, and I'm happy to be back here. So
yeah, we talk about that because we love going to London like for a weekend. Like I know exactly where I want to eat, I know what I want to do, and there's maybe like one new thing that I want to do, and it's realistically like a bar.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to see any ticketed attractions.
Yeah.
When I go there versus somewhere else, you're like, oh, I need to do all the things.
Exactly. What about you two? I'd be interested to hear that.
Do you have a destination?
One place, right?
Oddly, I really miss Japan as well. Not even oddly, but I've been there. Usually I don't like to return to places because I just like to go to new places because I feel like if I've been somewhere, whatever. But Japan, like just the culture is so different and nice, and we had a really great time the last time we were there. So can't wait to go back. What about you, Tiffany?
I would go to any beach right now. Like Pensacola sounds amazing, except for it not really because Florida scares me now. But Yeah, the people in my life who I travel with, namely like Ben and my husband, don't like beach vacations, so they don't happen very often. And I would really love Nick's laughing in the other room. Um, but he doesn't. And so like I would love to just like sit on a beach with a book. This is something I've been wanting to do for like 8 years now, and it just doesn't
I have to
happen.
say, I'm on Team Ben and Nick. I can't do the beach vacation.
Yeah.
It's too
Well,
boring.
it's different. Like, but it's just different. Like I want to go to places and explore and do stuff, but also I am tired. And it would be nice to just take a couple days and just sit on the beach and do nothing. So once it's a little warmer, we have 100 lakes within 100 miles, so we can do a bit of that here. But it's not really a beach.
Yeah, okay, the concept of the beach sounds great. And I love relaxing places. Like I will sit on my balcony in my hotel room looking at the beach. There are so many practical issues with actually going to the beach.
Like sand.
Sand. Okay, sand and ocean. Those are A and B. Okay, C.
Right, which means you can't take your electronics, which is what would actually make it a vacation for me.
You can take it. Well, no, I can take my laptop to the beach. Watch me. Anyway, C.
That was the nice thing about Greece and the beaches there, that they were, there's often rocky beaches, so you can safely take your.
And it's so windy often that you can't even sit there. Okay, C, you have the people who are at 6 a.m. reserving the damn chairs. Okay, so if you want to be respectful and not be a complete ass and like, because I get up before all those people, so I can play that game too. I just don't want to play because I think it's rude. D, it's windy, there's bugs, it's hot, like, it looks so nice in pictures, but then actually it's 95 degrees, and after 10 minutes there, I'm like, can I please get up and go? This is too hot. I could go on.
I feel like this just became a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Well, but like find what is an actual beach? Like, okay, Greece, Mykonos. Yeah, rocky beach. Last time I was there, it was so windy I couldn't even keep my eyes open, versus beaches where it's, it looks so nice in the Maldives, but it's like 95 degrees. Or like,
and the food is bad. That's the other problem with the Maldives. Like there's
so
actually nothing to do.
My sweet spot is the pool next to the beach, where it looks like you're at the beach. Yep. It feels like you're at the beach, but you're actually at the pool, and you can go in the pool.
Place 75 degrees, not very windy, not overcrowded. Like I'm down for sitting at the beach. I love it. I'll sit there on my laptop all day and be very happy. But it's usually like 95, buggy, and just gross. So that's my beach rant. Sorry.
I liked it. So Linda is asking, Tiff and Ben, are you guys still helping people who submitted requests for repatriation flights? Yes, but I need to clarify that Ben and I are doing actually nothing. It's our team at Points Pros who are doing that. I think they still are. So if you've emailed them, they're just probably falling a little behind. But keep in mind, there aren't a lot of commercial flights operating right now. So depending on where you are, you may want to look into a vacation rental. On a similar note, Gib, you've been doing like miles and points consults for charity.
Yeah, it's actually been really fun. Been like kind of, again, the cabin fever concept. It's actually nice to talk to people you don't talk to all day. And so for an hour a day between 4 and 5 my time, which is right now noon Eastern or 12:30 Eastern, been doing half an hour talks with anyone. They can talk about whatever they want. We can talk like this. Or if they, most people are kind of running their point scenarios by me. And
crashed our live stream. We're back.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Gib, do you want to say that whole thing again?
For those who might have missed it,
charity.
I was talking about this fun thing I'm doing every day for an hour, where I'm doing 2 half-an-hour slots. You can ask me anything, talk about your points, what you should be doing, where you want to go, where to stay, and the ask is that you donate $25 or more to your favorite charity, and then my time is yours. It's been really cool, hearing from lots of different people, different backgrounds, and some people have been awesome and donated lots more than the $25. So thank you to those of you who've done that, and if you would like one, I think you can find it on God Save the Points somewhere, and please book one.
Link is here on the screen because that's how we crashed the live stream.
Sweet.
I was trying to do a fancy widget and like show the web page in your face, but your face twice was actually too much for the live stream. They were like, "That's we can't handle it all." That is. Sorry, I'm looking through like all of the stuff. So Ben, what is your biggest takeaway from this experience? I think they're talking about the gestures vaguely of the past few weeks. Any long-term changes that we can look forward to from 1 mile at a time? Anything changes, not changes?
Not particularly. I mean, I've always loved covering the industry, hopefully mostly during better times rather than worse times. Like it I'm grateful I get to write about airlines every day. It depresses the hell out of me, the fact that, when the news is literally that Emirates is shutting down, Turkish is shutting down, Etihad shutting down, U.S. airlines are cutting all but 3 international routes. Like, it's super crappy. Well, we can cuss, right?
It's Friday, and it's our YouTube channel.
It's super shitty
we
to do that.
We did not check the box of safe for kids.
I mean, if that's the worst they have to deal with in this day and age, like, they got it pretty good. But so, I mean, I hopefully a more positive spin at some point. But no, I mean, nothing is really changing. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, how the space overall evolves on both ends of the spectrum, because, obviously this, for a lot of sites, I think changes economics a little bit, especially maybe for either very small sites or for very big sites with 100 plus employees. Like, I'm sure the numbers look different when this situation unfolds. I've been doing it for 13 years. I will keep doing it. Hopefully, I'm sure for Gib, same. Well, sorry, Gib, go ahead. Your thoughts.
And do you want to reintroduce Gib? Because Tina joined late and other people joined in late. And who are we talking to? Who's sitting here in the center square?
We're joined by Gib, God Save the Points, also in boarding area, who's an awesome guy. And, American, living in the UK, living in whatever. So he has a bit of a British accent, though.
Hire Ben for all of your toasts and, introductions.
All the who?
Like your toasts and introductions and.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm so good at them, right? I'll work on them.
We have time.
I'm with you. I think, not much has changed. I agree with you. It does suck having to constantly say, like, and this happened, and that happened, and this is going away, and that's going away. But ultimately, I think it's been the same for you. We've seen that people actually really do want to know these things. It's very interesting to see what's happening and to kind of watch the world unfold in front of us. It's never been anything like this. So, it's interesting for us to see. Like, I don't think if you told me 3 weeks ago that Emirates was going to be stopping all their flights, I would have ever believed you. But here we are. On a positive note, the fun thing for me has been trying to think about, like we just discussed, like the places I want to go to next, and the best memories I've had. Like, I had kind of a few that had slipped through the cracks, years of like having happy hours and had fogged away. But like, I had forgotten about the first time I flew on like a 747 to New Zealand, and it was pre 9/11, and I was able to go into the cockpit. Like, I was in economy, but for whatever reason, the cabin crew member was super nice and invited me up to the flight deck. And I just remember sitting up there just like in awe. And, those things, A, may never be duplicated again, and B, they're fun to think back on. So I think it is nice to pause and kind of realize how lucky we are. And so I've been enjoying like trying to write some of those things too, just like more reflective or future,
That's fun to do.
An interesting point. Like, so much change after 9/11. Do you think we're going to realize that the past few years we've maybe taken like the ease of travel for granted a bit?
For sure.
Ben, you have 2 passports. You can go almost anywhere without having to get a visa. Like, what does that look like next year?
Probably nobody can go anywhere. I mean, that's the thing, is I think actually the international restrictions we're seeing are probably going to be the biggest challenge, especially, you have, because there's so many things at play. You have actual safety concerns. You have egos and reciprocity and, politics at play. First you have China saying that we don't, we oppose other countries, and this is not a pro or anti-China thing, but I'm saying countries, the politics of this is going to be very interesting to see. And I think we might see long-lasting restrictions beyond what is necessarily rational by many countries. We're obviously not at that point yet. I also think it's going to be really interesting to see how the miles and point space evolves in terms of content, because the thing is, it's been really easy to write about stuff for the past couple of weeks, because it's like, OMG, this airline shut down, and if this is going to last for months, like, at this point I think we're all unfazed by like, oh, global aviation shut down, like nothing's going on, and we're not quite at the point where we know when the end is in sight. So it is challenging to fill that in the middle while being sensitive to the fact that, we don't want to overpromise or anything else. So I think we're all open to content ideas in that regard.
So that's an interesting thing too. I'm sorry, Gib, I'll let you answer that question as well.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to be that person.
I think it's a really interesting point. Like, I personally have taken a bit of flack because I like finding great flight deals, and I've found some really cool ones for 2021. And, my heart wants to believe that those are things people will actually be able to fly. And I think it's a very interesting distinction of how much are we talking about the future? Is that realistic? Where do you draw the line there? Is it the end of the year? Is it just too impossible to predict? I've heard all of the above, and so it is, a funny time for us because the kind of norm or what's acceptable or is changing by the day, by the minute, by the Dr. Fauci press conference.
What's your take on that right now? Where are you, if you're writing about a flight deal, where are you drawing the line in terms of availability? Does it have to be July, August, September, October, November? Never.
So I have a trip in April that's never going to happen. Of course, the next trip I have now on the books that I actually would really like to take is in October. It's to Hawaii. So as an American citizen, I have some hope that we have peaked and pinnacled and there is some level of, moving on by then. But if it's not the case, then my next one is January. And I'm we'll hope for January. And so I think, one point I would make is that I think that is the fun part about points is other than your Korean Air Award, it's usually pretty easy to cancel. And the investment in terms of what you'd lose in a change fee is pretty small. So I do kind of like having these prospective trips, even if they don't materialize. I do like being able to book them. And, if I lose $35 when the world is still on lockdown next year, I can lose $35. I can't, so it's kind of
stuck. We had a client who they have $10,000 worth of tickets. It's just because they're a family of 5. They were $2,000 paid tickets. And getting those refunded right now through an OTA requires a supervisor's approval and a 30-day review because they're we're actually not sure if we have the ability to refund that. It's complicated.
And in general, that's a real challenge right now is figuring out it's one thing to plan travel, and it's one thing if you can easily cancel. If I book a Marriott reservation online with points, I can easily cancel through the website. Usually unless they're having IT issues. But even if you're booking refundable travel, in some cases it's a function of how many hours is it going to take to get through to an agent and.
Right. So along those lines, you guys both took the approach this week of telling people as far as credit cards are concerned, hey, if you're thinking about a new card, you should maybe look at doing that before the end of the month. You just did that today. Do you want to talk more about that or sort of what you were thinking there?
Yeah, I was just kind of picking up Ben and Gary's lead, which is that, historically, these kind of times haven't been kind to big rewards, lenient approvals, and all the things that people tend to look for. It is what it is. Someone told me today on my blog, well, banks are always looking for good customers. And it's yes, of course, that's true. And if you're a good customer, you always have a place there in a way. But that doesn't mean they're willing to jump through as many hoops to acquire you. Or, they might tell you perhaps not now, or we might just not be offering this card that you were thinking about anymore. So I think that's a legitimate thing to say. And,
I wasn't trying to ask a
excuse me,
hurtful question. I'm sorry.
I think that's very true, and I think at this point, it's not even. We don't know if we're headed for a recession or what's going to happen, but we do know is most companies at this point are just pausing everything because nobody knows what's going on, and part of that is going to be cutting marketing budgets. And with Q2 right around the corner, that's a logical point at which to cut off budgets. And I know it's not necessarily logical to say, because often when the economy is bad, you would want new card members, but it's not even right now the economy is bad. It's just nobody knows what's going on. So it's very likely, I think, that we'll see at least short term some cutbacks where banks pull back. We'll see if that lasts long term, but even in a recession, sometimes it's actually positive because they're looking for new card members.
Right, but it might be a minute before we get to that point.
Yeah, right.
That's part of the September reboot that everyone does. Okay, so Gib, somebody has 2 rental car bookings that they made with Avios through British Airways.
Next question.
Oh, you don't want to answer this?
No, I'll try. I'm terrible with rental cars.
So it's for the U.S. Yeah, but they're from the U.K. and they booked a rental car in the U.S. using Avios. The small print, of course, specifies that it's non-refundable. But how does that work if there are no flights and they can't even enter the U.S.?
I think the inability of a UK person to enter the US and the UK's advice that no one in the UK should travel pretty much creates a very strong claim that they should get their full refund. whether that ends up being through travel insurance, which I know lots of people have ended up using to get those things done, or some people have had to do chargebacks when no one would see reason. I'm not the right person to ask about rental car returns because I don't rent cars pretty much ever.
Maybe I should ask Kate to do a post about force majeure, because she mentioned it a little bit when she was talking about like Air Canada and their layoffs and their unions. But in general, a situation like this, it's like contract is voided on all sides. Like it just doesn't work. It's outside of anyone's control.
There's no reasonable expectation that could be carried out at this point. And I know lots of people who've successfully claimed on their travel insurance and these kind of things. And ultimately, I think it takes a level of pigheadedness first with said brand, whether it's, to say like, I need to speak to your supervisor or someone who can actually help me. Like, I appreciate your efforts, but you haven't satisfied my problem, which you created. So,
I do think that's a challenge at this point there's a disconnect often between either what the law says or what should be and what actually happens. And that comes down to, realistically, like, how do you actually get in touch with someone at a travel company? If it requires a 2-hour hold and you're talking to a supervisor, they only know what the company policy is. And as we've seen with a lot of airlines, their company policies violate even what the federal rules are regarding things. So obviously you might win in small claims court in some cases, or whatever, but that's not practical when you're speaking to an outsourced call center agent. You're not going to say, I'm going to sue you. And they're like, okay, well, in that case, let me.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, of course, let me put you on the special line for people who are going to sue.
And I don't know whether we should feel surprised, but I can't believe how many travel brands are just brazenly breaking the law without fear of any blowback.
You're absolutely right, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the one thing that I've heard over and over from executives at several airlines is literally, including one major airline I heard this about yesterday, that like if we actually have to refund people, we will be out of business in 5 days. Like we cannot afford. They actually can't, which like that does not excuse them breaking the law. It's a complicated situation, but if they would literally liquidate with no, I don't know, it sucks.
And I think that's where the kind of line of communication you were talking about, where, why don't you have like text message, or at least Delta's system of we'll call you back, and lots of people use WhatsApp.
Delta's system is actually ideal. They're like, if you miss your flight, we're actually just going to assume it's because
of
coronavirus, and we'll just refund you.
But
Don't call.
Save people the hassle though. Like, I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but it's better than waiting for 3 hours, not getting through, or getting cut off. And so I think it really shows the companies that have invested in their points of contact for customers and how much that matters in a world where people don't really use the phone anymore. I use WhatsApp to talk to my family, my friends, and everyone. I would love to be able to handle my airline business like on WhatsApp. That would make me very happy, or at least a text message. And so I don't know. I feel like it's highlighting these issues that have always existed, and now they're exacerbated because of, the current times, and I hate it.
Ben, a lot of people are asking to see Winston. Just heads up.
I'll see. We'll see if we can get him. If he's.
Yeah, our dogs actually don't like being on video calls. Freya especially is like, this whole thing where you wake me up from my nap every day now at 4 p.m. to like wave at strangers. I'm not here for it. She's hiding in Nick's office, literally under his desk. As soon as I got on.
I'm sorry. My coconut water has me a little loose. I forgot my main point, which was that I'm okay with the refund taking a long time. Just let me know that you're going to honor it. I've seen some saying it's going to be 60 days or 100 days, and it's, not ideal, but I think, the thing is that airlines are saying we'll be out of business in a couple days if this happens, but the travel industry is no longer alone in this like deep, ominous world. People are losing jobs. I think there's like 3 million jobs in the US have been lost or furloughed already. So it's like those people who are calling about these refunds also kind of need that money too. And so I think that's why it's unacceptable when you play kind of devil's advocate with both sides.
Right, especially if you like work at a restaurant or something like that. One of those situations, it's going to be really interesting with these various sort of stimulus recovery packages that all these governments are passing. Like restaurant workers, especially in the US, the majority of your income is tips. And it's not like really reported. It is a little bit, but also not really. And so if they're basing things off of like your last year's income, how do you make up for that? And of course, like those people, obviously, like they're canceling their trips, and a credit for a year from now doesn't work because that doesn't pay the rent.
I love how some airlines have like 6-month credits as well. They're like, this is good for travel in 6 months. Like,
right. Well, and the hardest part is I think the tickets are good for a year from date of issue. Like if you had tickets booked for spring break and obviously you had to cancel, spring break is not in February.
Can we also just talk about all the dumb people like I saw on television who were actually like raging at spring break?
In Florida? Yeah, we love talking about dumb people in Florida. It's Ben's favorite topic.
I mean, that's just called people in Florida, except me, of course. But
somebody's got to be the exception to the rule. So Ryan is asking, Ben, in your funny like one-handed TSA pat-down experience story that you reminded people of today, you stated that you choose a pat-down over going through a full-body scanner. Now that you're not 18, do you still make that obstinate choice? And why? I added a little bit at the end. But.
I don't. So when I was much younger, I was kind of an asshole. But maybe intentionally. Like I thought, okay, I'm going to be defiant no matter what. Like, the TSA, like understandably, I have a lot of problems with the TSA. And like I thought, okay, I'll take it up with them every time that I go through the checkpoints. You could choose to get a full body pat down rather than going through the full body scanner. And, I thought, I don't know, I didn't think it was cool, but I thought, okay, whatever, I'll show them.
But you were 18.
Exactly.
Maybe
and
19.
Also, like,
and who among us wasn't a complete dick at 19?
It's the same as at JFK. They had a lot of TSA agents at the time where they would make you state your name while they were looking at your ID. And I'm like, this is actually the dumbest thing ever. Anyway, I have now in life gone exactly the opposite direction. I'm literally the most passive person on earth. So they could do whatever they wanted. I'm just like, no, please just leave me alone. Whatever. I'll do whatever. They could do not a strip search, but whatever. I'm saying I avoid confrontation.
But maybe, right? Like, there's a time and a place for everything.
If it's a Friday after a happy hour.
Right. It's like, sure, why not? Why not? And it depends who's administering the strip search. Like there's a whole range of, variables and possibilities there. So, so Blythe is wondering, what are you guys buying while on lockdown to meet minimum spend?
Wine.
So wine delivers. Gib, you also wrote like your local like coffee roaster is literally like making deliveries and probably still taking payments via like Square or something like that.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's my friend Seb. He's like one of the greatest guys, German, and he's got this bicycle with a rig. And they have a roaster, so they actually roast the coffee in small batches, like every couple days. And you just text them, and they just drive by and drop it outside your door. And like you just arrange like the PayPal or whatever in advance. It's pretty funny. But he's really sweet. Like we're friends, and he needed some groceries. I got him some groceries and left them outside my door the other day. And he actually got me like a V60 pour over set for home. So now I have like full hipster coffee at home, which is really exciting for me because I have snobriety problems. So.
Ben, I feel like your life now, pre-lockdown and post-lockdown, is very similar in terms of your purchasing habits.
Yeah. So I mean, we still have to get food somehow. So there's we have like a meal delivery service we use. So that's a lot of spending. Still, I pay rent through plastic. Is that how they pronounce it? Or is like plastique because it ends in a Q? I feel like it should be.
That's a great question.
But I don't think it is. We'll go with plastic. So you can make a lot of your normal purchases through plastic if you need to reach a minimum spend, and at most it's a 2.5% fee if there's not a promotion, and that's worth it if you're earning a welcome bonus that gets you whatever $1,000 worth of value, or in terms of points. So,
yeah.
And am I correct that the referral program's still going, where if you refer people, you get fee-free bucks, where you can
like $1,000 fee-free dollars for every person you refer who makes, I think, at least a $500 payment to somebody.
Yeah, which is great if people are doing that, like that. If you have friends that you can share.
If a credit card has a $3,000 minimum spend, that means at most you're going to be spending $75 in fees, and you could be earning, a bonus that gets you 60, 70, 80,000 points, whatever it is. Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like my spending hasn't changed at all. And so I do have, it's interesting because people who don't work from home, I guess, have been like, oh my gosh, I'm saving so much money. I'm like, what were you buying before? Because I'm a little bit of a frugal minimalist. And it's like, there's literally like the only thing that we are not spending money on that we might have spent money on before was fuel for our car. But I think we drive under 3,000 miles a year, so it's not like that was a major expense in this household. But
I feel like we should take a second and shout out what's behind you. Speaking of like great frugal home purchases.
oh, my credenza.
Yeah, which
You're gonna
Ben and
hear
I
all my
both learned what
secrets. Right, because you learned the word credenza, so you were excited about it. Yeah, so that's I am fortunate to have married somebody who's very handy and is equally sort of a frugal DIYer. So um, that will be sort of interesting because a lot of the stuff, like once it thaws, we have a lot of outdoor projects and money that we would have spent that will be more difficult to spend just from a procurement perspective. Like I wanted to buy some hydrangeas for a corner of the yard, and I don't actually know how you do that because I assume that shrubbery isn't essential. But yeah, and most of our house projects are done. This is the credenza that it's an IKEA hack, I think is why Gib likes it, because they started as IKEA kitchen cabinets and then became a whole credenza with separate legs.
But you put your own legs onto them and drilled like that's amazing.
Yeah, we're pretty handy.
As British people say,
a secret skill that people don't know I have is I can like build things. We've been building a fence. I don't really recommend building your own fence when you have a third of an acre, but it's really hard all the time. You're laughing because you actually have a sense of how big an acre is. It's really hard in Spokane to procure goods and services when we're not under lockdown because the population far exceeds the number of people who are able to provide goods and services. So a lot of things that we would previously have hired out, like when we lived in San Diego, we now do ourselves. So like, is your butcher, Gib, an essential service? Your English
I don't
butcher?
think so anymore. It was open as of last week. It was really cool. There's a place near me that does amazing bread. And then there's another one just down the street. It's like a great butcher and very local and all that good stuff. And it was interesting because when the lockdown was first happening, you'd see these like crazy lines at the supermarkets, but people weren't quite like focusing in on this like buying local and supporting people around you. And so there was actually like I could get everything I needed from the butcher and I didn't have to wait in line. And it was great. But I think he now proverbially has gotten the chop as well under the cuts. So
that's a good pun for the butcher.
Thank you. I've been waiting for that one. 48 minutes, but finally got.
Oh. Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's somebody who's asked a couple times. I can't find the question now, but they've asked about stealing items off of airplanes. How do we feel about that? They phrased it as service items accidentally falling into your bag, but
that's a good question. Okay, so no, you should not like steal Polaris blankets. I do have one right here, but I actually purchased it from the United shop. You shouldn't steal service items.
Well, you can also buy cookbooks with amazing recipes that are easy to prepare in a home kitchen.
Don't even go there.
Dude, would you like one of the Polaris cookbooks? Because I have two. I don't know. Can we ship things to the UK still?
I think so.
I will Lysol it and mail you one.
Seems complicated and not worth it, given that the recipes are kind of crappy.
Gib's a better cook than we are, so it might be possible.
Yeah, but it's like preparation time, like 6 hours for something that tastes like United food. Like, come on.
Has anything ever fallen into your carry-on?
At one time, I will admit it. Okay, so I absolutely love Japan Airlines. Their first-class coffee mugs are the best thing ever. So, 1 second. In that thing, could I just get the Japan Airlines first-class coffee mug? Okay, so
the fact that Ford knows which is the Japan Airlines first-class coffee mug, and can we talk about how like freaking lucky we are in the world?
Pretty obvious. So because
if I was like, "Hey Nick, can I have the Japan Airlines first-class mug?" He'd be like, "New phone. Who's this?"
So they do a really good job with coffee because first of all, they give you a little timer because they have a French press or whatever, and they give you a little timer that they turn over and they start it. And they have, look how cool this mug is. Like you have this thing. Like how cool is that? So anyway, I did not actually steal the first one. The first one, like I told the flight attendant, like, this is so nice. And she's like, oh, you can have it, which is shocking because like Japan, the rules are the rules. And I imagine the rule is not like you can take something from the plane. Anyway, then I realized one was kind of stupid. I really wanted two. So then on the return flight, I just took it. The second one.
Is that the best set of coffee mugs in your cupboard?
No, second
I feel
best.
like
Second best. Thank you. Tiffany's are obviously the best. But
That was a trick question. Good job.
This is. But airlines sometimes encourage you to take things like, it's Virgin Atlantic, the salt and pepper shakers, right? That look like airplanes. They're like, please take them. So
yeah.
How about you?
Which have pinched from Virgin Atlantic on the bottom of them. Which
Yeah, no, they do specifically say that.
People were saying, doesn't Virgin? Yes. Okay, sorry. I did not even see that when I said that.
Yeah, I actually think it's, for an airline, it's kind of a fun thing to do if you have, whether it's like the Delft houses and stuff like that, little things that people can take that are mutually agreed to be okay. Well, obviously, I agree. Don't take the Polaris blankets or the amazing gel pillow, which you can buy online at the United Store. Shout out, United Store.
Right. How do we make that a commissionable link on YouTube? I mean, I don't know. Travel companies are struggling currently.
Check the link to just in the corner over here.
What would you guys say is the best alliance or program for a frequent flyer who flies 1 to 2 times a month from LA to Italy or Greece? Obviously, once the situation blows over, not in the current environment. They're an American EXP and they're fed up with connecting at Heathrow with BA.
I mean, talk about being screwed no matter what. Your options are what? Relying on Alitalia, which is like, you might as well rely on, coronavirus. You might as well rely on I can make it political, never mind. Versus what? Star Alliance, you can enjoy Lufthansa's business class and be delighted through Frankfurt. Well, we didn't make it clear if it was economy or business or first, or if it's budget or just quality. But
right. I mean, the problem, connecting at Heathrow is not a joy, but it's not worse than connecting in Frankfurt.
And it depends, obviously for Greece, most cities you'd be T5, but some European cities T3. So if it's more of a leisure destination, if you are like One World Emerald or even Sapphire, you have like the Cathay Pacific Lounge, really nice. Qantas Lounge, not bad either. So it could be worse.
The trick is to go to the Qantas Lounge for either coffee or a gin and tonic, depending on the day, and then go to the Cathay Lounge for lunch.
Exactly.
They do have good coffee.
That's the hack for T3, in case anyone was wondering.
Defo.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could eat in the Qantas Lounge, but I don't know why you would.
It's not very good. They don't even have a, it's
Gib, what's your favorite aircraft? Just
I like the A350. I love the A350.
Too. Yeah.
I love flying on it.
Actually, Ben was a little bit more of a snob because he was like the A351.
Yeah, I'll go with it. Yeah, the one. Yeah, I think the one is great. I do I love the stretched.
Because airlines have actually some airlines have put effort into the plane. Like when you fly 1000 on Qatar, you're getting the new business. On British Airways, you're getting club suites. Like they've done for the most part, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it sounds nice too. Yeah, I think for flying enjoyment going forward, the 350 is the best. Like I feel better from it typically. The noise is lower. I feel like I can actually talk at a normal level, and whoever I'm with can hear me. I'll always have nostalgia for 747 upper decks or A380s where there's incredible social spaces and things like that. Now that we social distance, who cares about social spaces?
Okay, true or false? Virgin's new social space on the A350, worst conceived idea ever or not?
See, here's my argument. I liked the bar, but it was always, there was 3 seats and it was always taken up by a couple. So if you weren't that couple, you were forced to third wheel in an incredibly awkward situation. And so I pretty much always found that I would make a pass at the bar and then I would end up just doing a beeline back to where.
The bar is actually the worst conceived thing ever because the Virgin Atlantic was, they don't have a curtain between.
And it was so noisy. Yeah.
But the second
But they could have done a bar like Virgin Australia has, which seats 4.
It's still stupid. Bars, unless it's Emirates and Qatar, are stupid. But what is the point of the social space on Virgin Atlantic?
I mean, you know how it goes. It's the galley space that would probably be mostly unused. Otherwise, I think I've heard that there's a smaller one going on to leisure A350s for Virgin, which would be interesting to see. But I mean, I personally like the give, even if it's not great. I like to be able to stretch my legs, especially if it starts going long haul. Like New York, it doesn't matter, it's 7 hours. But like if I'm going London to LA, I kind of like to be kind of go somewhere and not be right up against the crew in an awkward way. Like I want to be able to kind of just move, and whether it's to kick my legs out, whatever. So it's not perfect, but I appreciate the gesture.
But the whole sitting there is my issue. Like, I agree. It's nice to have somewhere you can stand where you're not inconveniencing people. I wish they'd actually just have like a standing zone. But like, I don't get the people who go there and sit, because you can also just sit at your seat and it's more comfortable, in my opinion.
I think it's just Richard Branson's great social experiment, and that he's doing market research on everyone that sits there.
Yeah,
Who sits there?
When we were on Virgin, there was a group who ended up sitting there, and they were so loud, like I could hear them through my headphones for the whole flight, which, I mean, whatever. I'm sure they had a great time. They had a lot of wine. I would also like to call out that since I have made my cocktail, I have heard the cocktail shaker go twice, and there have been no cocktails brought to my office. So I guess like 2 points for Ford. I'm sure Laura gave up on you long ago and went to bed.
Oh, yeah. long time ago.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out my cocktail glass, even though it's a mocktail glass. I got it in Singapore, one of my favorite travels. It's like very thin, blown glass, and it's got like the periodic table of positivity on it. Don't know if you can see it.
Important logistical question though. Did you like buy it while you were there and take it back with you?
Yeah. And
did you check it, or did you take it on board?
Carry on Singapore Suites.
Okay. So I'm very happy for you. That was a great choice. Was this with you, Tiffany, the Spain? Okay. So went to Spain and we're trying to buy gin and tonic. You know, this gin and tonic glasses they have in Spain, like really big, like massive wine goblets, essentially. So it seemed like a great idea. Oh, they're going to wrap it well. It was like 12 glasses. I checked them on the plane because like it was a big box, and I had my normal carry-on. And I think like 9 of the 12 were broken when I landed. And I was like, oh crap, this was the dumbest thing ever. So good job. It's impressive that you got it there, because that is complicated.
I think if I had more, it would have been a struggle, but we only got 4 of them, and so it worked out okay. I could fit them like neatly in carry-on zone.
I have to say, those gin and tonic glasses, Ben, are just super fragile, because after that whole experience, our friend Mike sent me some because we like booked a trip for his boss or something, so that worked out well for me. And sent me glasses, and of the 6, I'm now down to 3, just from like normal wear and tear in my house.
I also think those proper gin and tonic glasses are so dangerous because they're like fish bowls. You have no concept of what's actually in them, the quantities. There's no like standard kind of
measurement, right? It's like we put gin in.
It's just like, oh, just this big goblet in front of me, and I'll just drink it until I feel, oh, there we go.
Yeah,
true. It's true. It's true.
We have a request for doing more cooking videos, Ben. Is that something that we would do?
No. I mean, okay, I would do like I mean, why the hell not? Sure, that's.
Maybe we could do them remotely. That might be sort of cute.
I just feel like cooking is dangerous, and there are a lot of risks I will take. I will flight tag Angola or something. I will not cook though. There's a lot of things that can be cut off, and it just seems scary. So. Right.
I guess this person hasn't seen your avocado slicer demo. Maybe next week.
Next week. They're not. We have avocados again, but they're not quite ripe, so they'll be ripe next week. So.
Gib, what's your go-to card in the UK? Do you use a UK card, or do you use US cards, or a mix?
I'm so bad. I use all my US cards. It's really tough to pass up the earning rates for like earning 0.75. So what?
I said it's much better to use still a US card. If you have access to them, you might as well. Nothing to feel bad about.
I think the big thing in the UK is people are desperate to get US socials and establish credit in the US so they can do the same. But yeah, it's. I mean, I know a lot of people use the BA Amex. A lot of people use the Virgin MasterCard. Amex Gold tends to be like the sweet spot here between annual fee and relative earning and everything. But there's no super option at this point. But.
Okay, last question. If this lasts long enough, do you guys think we'll see some crazy promos like the US Air Grand Slam that we used to see, or like double, triple, elite qualifying and redeemable miles? Like I said, it lasts long enough, but not too long.
I mean, not that I can necessarily get one, but like I kind of would love for one of those crazy American Airlines unlimited first class pass kind of things to come back. I feel like there'd be such crazy, not like they call it the worst offer ever made in history, but it would be really cool. Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of really good offers. As we've all kind of said before, loyalty programs are the only way, once people aren't afraid anymore, to actually get frequent travelers and, you know, high value customers back into the skies. And I would expect the bonuses to be really sweet, really lucrative.
I think we'll see great promotions, but maybe not quite to the extent we saw 10 or 15 years ago, because the industry has fundamentally changed and become more efficient, even if it's set back now quite a bit. Like, you know, with 9/11, it's like airlines weren't doing well before and they were doing even worse after, versus here, like they were doing pretty well before versus after they'll be doing moderately bad. So I'm sure we'll see something, but I doubt the days of.
Well, and also keep in mind, like 10 years ago, you know, we might see promos like that in like 3 years, right? Like 2 or 3 years where we've had some consolidation. We've had like we've sort of figured out where the suffering and the consolidation is going to happen. And then there might need to be a need for some of that. Probably not the bonkers things at the end.
I was just going to say, I've found the status extensions really interesting so far. Like just following that, seeing what everyone's doing. It's been really such a mixed bag.
It is a strange or an interesting question from a loyalty program perspective, because if you're going to look at it, like, for example, from a hotel's perspective, like what Hilton did was incredibly generous to extend status by a year, incredibly generous. And I guess their angle is, oh, well, people will think of us then when they're ready to travel because they'll remember our generosity. At the same time, if you're actually a loyalist, you actually then have no incentive to be loyal. Like, for example, truth be told, like with Hyatt, I would likely spend quite a bit of money on my Hyatt credit card this year. Like I expect them to offer something to make it easier to account for what's happened. But like realistically, I would be spending a lot less money on my Hyatt credit card if they just give me status through next year, because I don't need to spend the money on it. That's not to say they shouldn't, but like it is a challenging thing. How do you encourage future behavior? And is that based on generosity, or is it based on giving people, you know, targets they can reach? And I don't know the answer. We'll see. It's a challenging situation, and it's interesting to see how everybody handles it.
Yeah, agreed. So final comment from Yuri says, protect Gib. Don't let him get kidnapped by TPG UK.
Any comments?
Odds of that happening?
Yuri, I promise you I'm very, very safe. That's all I'll say. I'm safe.
Jesus. Okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you guys for joining. Stay tuned. We'll let you know what we're going to do next week. I think these are fun. We'll keep doing them, but probably not every day because it's sort of a lot for me.
Yeah. We thought this would be like maybe 2 weeks of, not actually, but I'm saying the hope was it was 2 weeks of this. But now that we realize it's probably going to be months and months and months, we'll keep doing them, but maybe a little bit less frequently so that people don't.
And I feel like if any of you watch these frequently, you should do some video captures so that you can then play these back and show how we've all deteriorated as humans throughout the course of.
Right. Well, that is the thing. Like YouTube is forever. So maybe we can make a montage at the end and we can be like, wow, it's been how long since the guys have shaved? And, you know, her hair is what color? And wow, like we could do a time lapse of my eyelashes from last week to this week, and it'd be pretty enjoying. So not every day, but we will do this again next week. Stay tuned to the blog and we'll let you know. If you guys have thoughts on days or times that would be most optimal, let us know.
Thank you for joining us, Gib. We appreciate it. And thank you for staying up late for us, because it is now 11:30 for you, right? So that's late as hell.
Anything for Tiffany and Ben.
Aw, well, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.